kind cooperation. I now invite the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territories occupied since 1967 to make an introductory statement. Ms. Albanese, you have the floor.
Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On day 751 of the genocide in Gaza, I begin by honoring the victims and survivors of all genocides, past and present, including the Native Americans, particularly the Lenape people, the original stewards of the land on which the UN headquarters now stands. People of conscience long for the day when the country built on the genocides of countless indigenous nations in what is now called the United States will atone for its past and embrace a multilateralism grounded in equality and mutual respect. I deeply regret not being able to present this report in person due to unlawful and spiteful sanctions imposed on me for fulfilling my UN mandate. And thank you for those who have expressed solidarity to my persona and mandate. But this assembly should have already confronted this dangerous precedent. These measures constitute an assault on the UN itself, its independence, its integrity, its very soul. If left unchallenged, these sanctions will drive yet another nail into the coffin of the multilateral system. And yet, there is profound symbolism in the place from which I speak, South Africa, whose legacy reminds the world that freedom is indivisible. The chains on one are the chains on all. And as we gather, Gaza remains strangled, starved, shattered. Hundreds of thousands have been killed or injured. Thousands are missing, buried under the rubble, or disappeared into Israeli dungeons. And as the dust settles and the fire continues, survivors search for the remains of loved ones, while bodies long withheld by the Israeli army are returned bearing signs of torture and desecration, many in a state that makes them impossible to identify. In the West Bank, settler colonial expansion intensifies. Israeli forces raid, arrest, and kill, while violent settlers burn villages, uproot trees, seize more land, pogrom after pogrom. My report makes it clear. These horrors are neither sudden or accidental. They are the culmination of decades of moral and political failure within a resilient colonial world order sustained by a global system of complicity. Through unlawful actions and deliberate omissions, too many states have harmed, funded, and shielded Israel's militarized apartheid, allowing its settler colonial enterprise to metastasize into genocide, the ultimate crime against the indigenous people of Palestine. And how did it happen? First, diplomacy. Diplomatic fora meant to preserve peace have been used to justify and advance this genocide, dehumanizing the Palestinians, legitimize Israel's false claim to be acting in self-defense or vetoing ceasefires. Those who have dared to oppose it by using, for example, the international justice system like South Africa, Palestine, Nicaragua, or Norway before the International Court of Justice, or those who have engaged with International Criminal Court have come under heavy pressure. Second, military ties. Weapons, intelligence, and joint trainings have fed the genocidal machinery. The United States alone accounts for 2/3 of Israel's weapon imports. Dozens of other countries, though, continue training arms and surveillance devices that have been field tested on the Palestinians. Decision makers have thereby exposed themselves to possible accountability before both national and international courts. Third, trade. Over 2 years, Israel's exports soared to $474 billion, fueling its war economy. And despite 2 years of genocide, the European Union quick to sanction Russia over Ukraine, remains Israel's main trade partner, including in dual-use goods deployable for military purposes. This trade and all related military agreements must be immediately suspended. And last but not least, the weaponization of aid. The unlawful Gaza blockade has gone largely unchallenged by states. And while attacks on UNRWA, the backbone of the UN humanitarian response in the region and in Gaza in particular, have been tolerated or repeated, the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has turned aid distribution into killing fields for starving civilians. While this has been dismantled now, this gruesome enterprise and those behind it must be held accountable. Excellencies and delegates, international law is clear. No state may aid or assist another committing international crimes. This is neither charity nor a matter of choice. It is binding upon you. It's a binding obligation, and violating it risks complicity. Therefore, states must secure a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, in ensuring full Israel's withdrawal from all occupied Palestinian territory and the dismantlement of the settlements. Second, suspend all military, trade, and diplomatic ties with Israel until it ends and remedies its genocide, unlawful occupation, and apartheid. And third, investigate and, where warranted, prosecute those potentially involved in these crimes, including those who served in the Israeli army during and profiteered from the genocide. This is how we begin to honor the memory of those killed. And if the Security Council is paralyzed, this assembly must act under Uniting for Peace with greater resolve than ever before. And this is how we also honor the dignity of those who survived. This is how we give full meaning to this august institution that has just turned 80. From the ruins of Gaza and from the hope of South Africa, through the resilience of Palestine, may a new multilateralism rise, not a facade, but a living framework of rights and dignity, not for the few, not of the few, but for the many. Thank you.
I thank the Special Rapporteur for her presentation. Colleagues, I'll now open the floor for any questions or comments to Ms. Albanese. Italy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If the mic will be cut off, Italy will deposit the full text. The report presented today by Special Rapporteur Albanese is entirely devoid of credibility and impartiality. As Italy, we are not surprised. The content of the report blatantly exceeds the specific mandate of the Special Rapporteur, which does not include investigations into alleged violations committed by other states or entities, nor judgments on cooperation between third countries and the ICC. Even more concerning is the complete disregard, in particular during the last month, for the Code of Conduct for Special Rapporteurs, which includes common sense principles such as integrity, impartiality, and good faith. These are not optional. They are the foundation of any credible report of the implementation of the mandate and of the United Nations itself. The Code of Conduct calls on rapporteurs to ensure their personal political opinions are without prejudice to the execution of their mission, and to show.
I thank Italy for the statement, and I'll give. First speakers on my list will be the State of Palestine, to be followed by Israel, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, South Africa, Mexico, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Iraq, Djibouti, Cuba, and Chile. The State of Palestine, as concerned country, you have 7 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Special Rapporteur, for your report and briefing. Dear colleagues, there are 2 states already existing. This is a fact. No ethnic cleansing, no occupation, no genocide, no denial of rights or existence has the power to change this fact. Palestine and the Palestinian people will not disappear. History shows us that permanently and completely erasing nations from their homeland is an illusion, but it causes unimaginable pain and lasting scars and regrets that leave no one, in a safe distance. I invite you all to look at the nameplates in this room, and you will see that history informs us of what is impossible and what is possible. How nations and countries once colonized, ethnically cleansed, erased from the map are sitting among us proudly as member states. It also shows us how once old staunch foes can become friendly nations. The two states are an already existing reality, and the recognition of the State of Palestine is a recognition of this reality, not a maker of it. It is the first meaningful step towards achieving our freedom and independence. We are deeply grateful for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and France for their significant efforts to chart a pathway towards the achievement of a peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and the implementation of the two-state solution. And we welcome the adoption of the New York Declaration and call for its full implementation. It is the best example of what the international community can collectively provide in times of darkness and despair. It provides hope and opens a horizon towards ending the illegal Israeli occupation as ruled by the ICJ. Achieve the independence of the State of Palestine and make the vision of shared peace, security, and prosperity a reality in our region. Dear colleagues, the Palestinian people want freedom and life. They want dignity and life. They want independence and life. They want justice, peace, and life. For them, it is not this or that, and it does not have to be this or that. The Palestinian people want to live and see their children grow in their homeland, free from the occupation, humiliation, and subjugation. They want to exercise the right to self-determination in all its aspects without delay. And we are very grateful for your historic, unshaken solidarity with us. We are grateful to all those who displayed unwavering solidarity and support with our people, to the countries that provided political, humanitarian, legal, and financial support, to the countries that recognized the State of Palestine, including recently. We are also grateful to the Arab and OIC member states and the OIC contact group, the Hague group, the Madrid group, and to the Global Alliance, to the members of the General Assembly and to the Security Council who stood on the right side of history. We are grateful to the United Nations and nations around the world, the human rights organizations, the media institutions. This unmatched solidarity represents the righteous consciousness that keeps us going on this peaceful and just path until rebuilding, rehabilitation, independence, freedom, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you, the State of Palestine, for the statement. I now give the floor to Israel. And as concerned country, you have 7 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us be clear. Ms. Albanese's report is not about human rights. It is not about peace. For years, Ms. Albanese has spread anti-Semitic rhetoric and blood libels. She had exploited her elevated UN position to spread hate. She has defended terrorists and shown an ambiguous and vile contempt for Israel, the United States, and the West. When Hamas are your biggest supporters, you are not standing for peace. You are standing for terror. The truth is that this shameful report is one-sided and lacks credible legal or factual foundation. She has taken the word genocide, born from the ashes of the Holocaust, and turned it into a weapon, not to defend victims of history, but to attack them. We agree, those who promote genocide must face justice. That is why we stand against Hamas, the terrorist organization with real genocidal intent. Yet this report makes no mention of Hamas's atrocities. No reference to the October 7th massacre. No reference to the torture of Israeli hostages. No reference to Hamas's public executions of Gazans. By erasing Hamas and its crimes from her report, Ms. Albanese hides the truth, defends the terrorists, and blames the victims. She calls convicted terrorists murderers and rapists. Palestinian hostages, equating them with the innocent Israeli hostages held in Hamas's terror tunnels. Ms. Albanese, every time you try to curse Israel with falsehood and libels, your curses fail. Ms. Albanese, you are a witch, and this report is another page in your spell book. You have tried to curse Israel with lies and hatred, but your poison has failed. Every page of this report is an empty spell. Every accusation a charm that does not work, because you are a failed witch. Your words have no power, and your report will have no impact. Every time you try to curse us, the opposite happens. On July 3rd, you demanded sanctions against global companies, including some of America's largest, for working with Israel. 6 days later, it was you who was sanctioned by the United States, not for defending human rights, but for spreading hate and lies. You parade as a lawyer, yet hold no license to practice. Instead, you wrap your bias in the language of law, hoping it will hide what it really is: Hamas propaganda. You call us, you call Israel, the greatest threat to international peace and security, and for our suspension from every organization. Yet, it is Israel, the region's only liberal democracy, that is present in this room today. It is you, Ms. Albanese, who stands outside it. Mr. Chairman, after 2 years of war, Israel has paid a heavy price for a fragile yet vital ceasefire. Today, our living hostages are home. We are dismantling Hamas's terrorist infrastructure. We continue to fight for the return of 13 fallen hostages whose remains are still held in Gaza. Israel is not the obstacle to peace. Israel, together with our allies, is driving it forward. Ms. Albanese has devoted her energy to attack Israel, but her report shows that her campaign of defamation is expanding. Ms. Albanese attacked President Trump for what she called aggression, yet it was under his leadership that the Abraham Accords were signed, and his 20-point peace plan that laid the groundwork for today's ceasefire. Her witchcraft failed, diplomacy has triumphed. So now she directs her curses toward other nations, our allies, partners and friends who stand for democracy and the rule of law. If her latest curse is to break the partnerships that sustain peace, to cut diplomatic, strategic and economic ties, then we can only hope her witchcraft fails once again. May her curses continue to backfire, turning into blessings that build cooperation, develop alliances, and advance peace and prosperity. Through history, those who cursed the Jewish people only made us stronger. Their hatred never destroyed us. It reminded us who we are. No curse, no lie, no report will ever break the people or the state of Israel. We remain committed to ensuring the safety of our people, bringing all of our hostages home, and advancing genuine peace in the region. Thank you.
I thank Israel for the statement. Colleagues, before I give the microphone to the next speaker, I would like to remind delegations to focus their interventions on making comments or posing questions on the report, while delegations are invited to express their views on the report or the activities of the mandate holder. The comments should remain within the accepted framework of the committee, ensuring respect and maintaining the dignity and decorum of our deliberations. I request the distinguished representative of Israel to avoid derogatory and inflammatory remarks which are personal in nature. Special Rapporteur Ms. Francesca Albanese for her response. The floor is yours.
To thank all members who have taken the floor. I will not be able to answer all questions, but I will try my best. First of all, my first comment goes to, it's a reaction to the representative of the State of Israel, who finally, after 3 years, honored this mandate of his presence. Look, it's grotesque and frankly delusional that a genocidal state can't respond to the substance of my findings. And the best thing that he resorts to is accusing me of witchcraft. So be it. You're the one accused of genocide. If the worst thing you can accuse me for is witchcraft, I take it. But rest assured that if I had the power to make spells, I would use it not for vengeance. I would use it to stop your crimes once and for all, and to make sure that those responsibles end up behind bars. And I would make sure that everyone from the river to the sea, Jewish people, Muslim people, Christian people, and secular people lived in freedom and enjoying their rights, not just privilege for few, again, between the river and the sea. To the state of South Africa, it's absolutely electrifying to be in your country, and I thought I know a lot about it and about the life of Nelson Mandela, but I was wrong, because I thought that Nelson Mandela and his comrades and the movement that strove to bring apartheid to an end were quite unique. But there is the light of Nelson Mandela in all the people that I've met in the past 5 days. Concerning your question, if there are narratives that have been particularly effective in dehumanizing the Palestinians, absolutely. Look at how anti-Semitism and terrorism have been used, not only to dehumanize the Palestinians, but also to silence any legitimate criticism of Israel. I mean, no one cares about Israel's religions, frankly. I just want Israel to comply with international law, like anyone else in the international community, including the Commission of Inquiry, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, all the dozens and dozens of organizations who have documented Israel's war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. And by the way, Israel is the one who today appears before 2 international tribunals accused of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. To Romania, I have to say, you're right, and I'm sorry the report was reached you so late. And I would have used the summertime at my disposal to work on the report. Had the member states of the United Nations and the organization itself been more effective in helping me protect myself and my family from the continuous smears and attacks, including through the sanctions that have been illegitimately imposed on me. Then to Hungary and Italy. Hungary is wrong. It's not true that I've not condemned Hamas. Of course I've condemned Hamas. Of course, surely not in this report, but I've not condemned Israel for its crimes against the Palestinians in 2008, 2009, 2012, etc., etc. But I regret you and the representative of Italy made allegations that I find unsupported. For example, you say that I make political statements. Well, you should have mentioned some examples so that I could have learned and improved. Otherwise, both of you seem reciting the talking points of the Israeli ambassador. To the representative of Ireland, my answer on which next steps can be taken to advance peace, I say respecting international law. The ICJ has spoken over and over the past 18 months, saying that it's genocide which calls states upon cutting ties with Israel, especially stop transferring weapons. And then the only roadmap to peace is about ending the root causes of violence, ending the occupation, now ending and remedying the genocide, and then ending apartheid. I don't see that there is another way forward. And this leads me to the next question that has been raised by many, including the criticism from South Africa. Yes, it's true that I've not given much space to the political initiatives and the humanitarian initiatives that you and others have taken, because in my view, they are not what is needed to take the Palestinians out of the genocide, out of the apartheid, out of the unlawful occupation. Many of you continue to treat Palestine as a humanitarian crisis to manage in perpetuity, and I stand firmly against it in the name of justice and human rights. As simple as that. A member state, including Saudi Arabia, may want to use their influence to make sure that, as the ICJ has requested, Israel withdraws the troops, dismantle the settlements, and then stops using Palestinian resources, allowing also for reparations. This is what is to be done. And look at the peace plan that so many of you have uploaded in recent weeks. This peace plan has continued, maintained the Palestinians under occupation, and in fact doesn't take into account international law at all, and creates the conditions for an occupation in disguise. Instead of helping bring to an end the occupation, it's rewarding and it's allowing it to stay, again, as I said, under disguise. But let me conclude with some final remarks inspired by this very interesting and lively discussion. We must be honest about what we are confronting. What Israel has built is not at all exceptional. It's the colonial order continued and refined. This is racial domination and dispossession updated for our century and enforced with the weapons and technologies of this century. And South Africa demonstrates that what seems today invincible can in fact be broken when law, will, and courage align, and even in the strongest walls fall. And in this darkness, millions are resisting. Sparks of hope. Shame on those calling themselves liberal democracies failing to restrain the powers of their police that try to silence conscience, or to support the hundreds of citizens from all over the world who continue to risk their life in the forms of a flotilla or global march, breaking the genocide instead of anticipating that breaking the siege and stopping the genocide is an obligation that is upon member states. As the global anti-apartheid movement of our time demonstrates, it's states that stay silent and complicit. The people united are rising. Workers are striking worldwide. The BDS is gaining new momentum with more consumers boycotting strategically, businesses divesting, and institutions from banks to universities slowly but steadily correcting their practices. The question is no longer if Israel's apartheid and the global system of complicity that supports it will end. It matters when and how. And what gives me hope are the initiatives like the Hague Group led by Colombia and South Africa that embody the beginning of a new multilateralism. Look, in conclusion, for the younger generation, the genocide of the Palestinians is memory in the making, shaping their sense of self in the global order. And whether recognized by states or not, accepted or not by those in power, the Palestinian struggle for freedom stands at the heart of the movement toward a truly decolonial world order. And to the people of Palestine, I say, may you hear it. From the harshness of occupation to wherever exile has taken you, watching or suffering the genocide, your struggle is seen, your resilience is honored, and the world is awakening with you and will stand with you as it has done with South Africa until your liberation. Thank you.
With that, I thank the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territories occupied since 1948.